crazy technical difficulties. It just wouldn't work. I don't know. Um, Hi, I'm Lorenza Nicole Molina, aka the Black Butterfly Queen, La Reina Mariposa Negra, and this is View from the Throne. If this is your first time here, hello. If it is not your first time here, hello. If you've been here for a little bit, hello. Thank you for all those who watch, even if you don't watch in real time, you watch on your own time. It is appreciated. While I was struggling to get the podcast to even show, I had to like log out to go back in, all the little things. And I was frustrated, and the only words that came to me was new territory. New territory. When you're in new territory, say you never knew how to swim, and you start practicing and getting in the pool, and you want to cut because you want to know. And when you're there, it feels very awkward because you're not used to yourself in this situation. You're used to using your legs to walk, run, stand, leap, maybe dance. But everything you're used to using your legs for are usually on land. Them feet were made for walking, right? Them feet was made for that. And so being in the water, you have to learn what your body can do and what it's capable of in the water. And it can be frustrating. It can be frustrating because you want to do everything that you're used to doing, but it doesn't work there. On land, you can probably grab something, or you can sit in a chair, or you could stand in a certain way, or you could move in a certain way that you cannot do in water. When you're in water, you have to time things correctly. You have to consider things that you would never have to consider when you're on land. You have to think differently in the water, and you have to move differently in the water, and you have to accept the fact that the water is going to make you feel like you have less control over your atmosphere. It's going to make you feel like you have less control over everything. And the best thing you can do is first accept and respect the fact that the water is not land. The water is a moving thing. It's a living thing, and that you're in it, but it's not in you. This is not where you're from. This is not what you're used to. This is not any of those things. But also remember that it is possible to swim. In this water, you can't walk. You can't jump. It's difficult to dance, but you can swim. I didn't say it was impossible. I had to say difficult. That's how a lot of us are going to be feeling as this year continues, as we go into our next places. That we'll feel like, instead of fish out of water, we'll feel like someone who can't swim, but has been thrown in the water. What's cool about all of that is God is also with you. He's the one in the water. He's the one that put his hand out and told Peter to come to him, and Peter walked on water. He's the one that told the storm to be quiet. He is the life in the way. He is the truth, the life, in a way. He is living water. So he commands water. And if he put you in it, He needs you to trust him because he knows more about the water than you do. The things you know about the water are only things that the water could do for the land, but you don't know the life that water holds. You don't know all the things that are in the water. And yes, you have to respect where you are, but you're going to need God's hand to guide you through the water. You're going to need him to show you how to rise and sink into the water at the right time, how to ride the waves. You're going to need him to calm you in the middle of storms and cyclones or whatever. You're going to need him to, because the storms on the water are way different than the storms that were on land. See, the storms on the water, there's nothing to hold on to but God's hand. In this next season, you are going to need God to do everything. The reason why it was so difficult to do any of these things before was allowed. It was allowed for you to see the difficulties. And granted, think God is a merciful and graceful God. So he didn't even let you taste everything. He just allowed you to deal with the difficulties of trying to run things yourself, trying to figure out yourself. Not that you're trying to be necessarily prideful. That's not the case here. The case is to be clear that without him, we can do nothing. Without him, this next season, you can't walk into it. You can't walk into it. You have to swim in it. You need him to guide you. The living water understands how water moves. It understands the current. It understands what's in water. It understands what water can do, the power of water, how small it can be and how big it can be all at the same time. But it will never change that it's water. Just like Jesus coming into the world, they say he shrunk himself down into us. Really, we were wrapped in him because of flesh. He created us in his image. He created the flesh. But let's go with the scenario of shrinking yourself down. No matter if water is full and taking over the earth or it's a drop of water in your eye, it doesn't matter the size of it. What matters is that it will always still be water. No matter if God is in eternity, heaven, earth, or hell, whatever, he will always be God. No matter where he has stood, he will always be God. No matter what flesh he walked in, he will always be God. He is who he is. And everything is subject to him. Everything has to bow down to him. Everything has to obey. Everything at one point or another, whether it be now or later, but eventually every tongue will confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. Lord. People think when we say Lord, we're only talking about Jesus. Lord technically means somebody who has power or authority over you. There's somebody substantial or regality of some sort. Maybe not a king, maybe not a queen. But if you're not sure who, respectfully, you don't know if they're a count or a king or a queen or emperor or anything. So you know that they're regality. So the first thing you say, because they're over you, you know they're in a position of authority. You'll say, Lord. Lord. It's the Lord of all lords, the King of all kings, God of all God. He needs you to understand, and he needs it to be very clear that you cannot do anything in this season or this place. You cannot live in this place without him. He intentionally built you on land so that you would have questions about the water. So that you have questions about the water because he is water. So that means so that you will seek him. He intentionally put you where you were. He put you over there so that when you came into the space that you were destined to be in, you would be in it but not of it. Know enough about him to seek him, but you will always need him because you'll always be in over your head. He does not need to lose your life now. He does not need to lose your soul now. It is crucial that you stay with him as you go forward. It's crucial that you stay with him. See, before we were all like Moses being hidden in the cleft of the rock as God's glory passed him by, covering him in the dark, or like a baby growing in the womb in the darkness of his mother's belly, only able to hear voices every now and again, but clearly a heartbeat. Her heartbeat. And when Moses came out of the cleft of the rock, God revealed all things to him that he needed to know in that moment for him to be who he was going to be, what he was going to do, what he needed to say. He was going into territory. And what's crazy is he came from there, but he never really was from there. He was placed there early. So he was familiar with the water. But he still wasn't of that water. Still needed oxygen to breathe. Still needed a little help. God is not asking you to do anything alone, and it would be foolish to think that we all can. I mean, if you don't have a physical person, God will send an angel. God will send a dog. And I mean that. I mean that absolutely. You had no one. God will send an animal to protect you. I'm kid you not. It's happened to me. But let's keep it clear. You're going into new territory. And yes, you're going to need God. Yes, it's going to take choosing to be humble because you don't want to have to be humbled. This is not a place to play. This is not any games. This is not no joke. This is something given and assigned. Hey, girl, given and assigned to you. This place is a place you have been groomed for, a place that God has been shaping you for. He's been getting you ready for. I want to talk about something that God had been talking to me about. The reason why I think all this is coming up right now. I had been hearing more people talk about Moses lately in my vicinity, or I turn on the TV and, it's something about Moses or somebody like Moses, right? Thank you. God is good. And he showed me Harriet Tubman, and he showed me Gideon, and he showed me these people who either called Moses or came after Moses, and God used them as leaders to help lead their people and set their people free. And I remember when I was a little girl, I was like, I can't be Harriet because she already, got us out of slavery. So can't be her. But I would love to do something to help people be free. I want to be free, and I want to help people be free. I want to help liberate somebody. This was me, just a little girl, because I was so inspired by Harriet. But I felt like all the jobs were taken. Sometimes that's how you feel. You have a desire, but you don't feel like there's any place for it. Believe me, you're about to run right into it. It's right in front of you. This is not a joke. This is not. Is it real? Yes, it's real this time. This is not just a dream. This is the reality of the dream that you had. You're going in. And it's funny how the little things we ask for with tender hearts, God is part of God's desire, and that's what his ear leans in close to, because that's what he wants for us. That's when we are most pure of heart. And he's been talking to me about these things. because Moses had to go in and go get in and get the children of Israel. Mind you, he was like in his 80s or whatever. He was old. Okay. What y'all doing? What y'all doing right? What you doing at 30? Okay. He was in his 80s. So when you be like, oh, I don't know, I think I'm too old for that. Try again. Try again. And if you need somebody more up to date to talk about, we have ministers who are well in their 60s and 80s who are still doing, teachers, doctors, professional people. I mean, Tina Turner was still getting it until she went on. Okay. Do you want to live and enjoy your life is what it's about. Is what it's about. It's not about how old you are. It's about the time you're in and that you've been placed there. It's important that you are your age, but it's not about your age. It's important that you are your age because it helps what you have to be more unique to what he's about to do. He needs a unique touch. So he uniquely, intentionally made sure you were born when you were born so that you would be the age that you are now, so that he could set you up in a way to do certain things that no one would expect, because he knows people live out of weird expectations that they place in society, but God does not live by those notions. So he knows that it will get the attention of those. And this is why you're going to need God to do things, because God is a strange, wonderful, miraculous, interesting, magnificent God. He is deep and wide. He has mysteries upon mysteries, yet you can know him so well all at the same time. He's all the best kept secrets, but he's hiding nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, God is everything good and wonderful. That's what anybody whoever experienced people and didn't experience God, and they're like, I don't want to go to church, I don't want to do that. You got to understand that. Don't you think it's unfair for people to have convinced you of who God is when you haven't even really met him yet? Don't you think you deserve to talk to him a little bit first? Don't you think he deserves to have time with you first before you make an assessment or a judgment about who he is? Because God is not like us. We're supposed to be like him. We're supposed to emulate him, and we don't always do that because we have other things in front of us, like temptation and free will to do whatever we want, because God wants to be loved. He doesn't want to command and you blindly serve him. He wants to, hey, I want to show you this. And if you love me, you obey my commandment, because that means you're trusting me. You're trusting me to be who I am above all that you think and know. You're trusting me, and your actions are obedience. Your love is an action word. So you showing God, I'm going to trust you with this. I'm going to listen to what you're telling me to do, because I know you know these things, and I'm giving you this time. I'm giving you this energy. I'm not going to let anxiousness push me around. I'm not going to let people push me around. I'm not going to let anxiety push me around. I'm not going to let depression tell me who I am. I'm going to let you speak louder than all the other voices and all the other noise that will try to crash against my window. You are the God that lives within me. Greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. And once again, it brings me all the way back around to the fact that you are going into new territory. So you have to be able to harness this relationship. And if you feel like things are chaotic, have you considered that maybe you haven't given God the time so he can give you the territory? I'm going to let that just, maybe you haven't given God, the God that one person that hurt you claimed that they love, the God that person that beat you up claims that they love, the God that those people use to be racist against you, that the God that they claim, that's not the God I'm talking about. The one that they've been smearing the name, the one that people have been misrepresenting. I'm talking about the real God, the one that really loves you, Have you given him time? Have you given him a chance? Don't you think it would be unfair if people smeared your name all around? Now think about that. I know some of you have had people talk about you like a dog, have did stuff in your name and said, well, so-and-so told me to do it, have lied on you deeply and it hurts you bad. Do you think that God does not feel? What do you think Jesus coming was supposed to help us understand? That God feels. You think you have feelings to help you explain yourself? You have feelings so that you can understand God more. God feels. We are made in his image. We are made as a reflection of him. And we don't always look at the one who is the actual being for our identity. We look everywhere else, but we're a reflection of him. And when we go through things and when someone cracks our mirror and we feel unseen, God still sees us in a broken mirror. He still sees us looking back at him. We are made in his image. Everything that we have, feelings, the capacity to think, gift, music, dance, being able to be a neurosurgeon or a lab technician or a scholar of any kind, intellectual gifts, so many different kinds of intellectual gifts, emotional intelligence. All this comes from God. Why is it twisted? Because we've been poisoned with the mentality of the enemy. And his mentality is sin. His mentality tells us to turn our backs on God. His mentality tells us to go with our free will and choose something else. And yes, God wants us to choose. But if you want to be loved correctly, don't you want to be chose? Don't you want to be wanted? We all know what it is. Oh, you need me for this and you need me for that. You need me to send those papers by 3 a.m. You need me for that. And that can get old and tiring very quickly. But to be wanted is something else. Do you know that it is important to know that God didn't need any of us. He wanted us. God is complete and whole all by himself. He wanted us. He didn't need us. He wanted us. And have you ever wanted somebody and you love somebody and you just wanted them to love you back? Some of you have been going through that. You've been going through rejection and all that. You don't understand why. Maybe maybe some of these things are allowed so you can take the time to say, well, God, how do you feel? Do you feel like I'm just ignoring you? Do you feel like I am calling you invisible? Unable to meet, unable to approach, unable to be seen, when I can see you in many faces. I can see you in people's God-given talents and gifts. I can see you when the trees dance in the wind, when the wind wraps around. I can see you in science and I can see you in art. I can see you in music and I can see you in math. I can see you in all things, but I'm not really looking for you. So God, am I ignoring you? God, did I hurt you? Did I grieve your spirit? I want to know who you say you are, not what the people who hurt me did. And understand this. People are not perfect. People only can shine a portion of God through their stone. They can't shine all of God. We still have to deal with the cuts and the broken pieces of people. But God has a way of, even in our broken places, in our cut places, and the way we were cut from our stone and the way we were broken through life, when God shines through you, all people see is a beautiful light cascading onto the wall of the world. When you have really let God move. And when those people weren't letting God move, you might have got cut a little bit by their stone. When they weren't letting God move in them or work in them, you got stabbed, you got stuck, they made you fall and trip. But it doesn't mean they weren't meant to hold God's light. They might have misrepresented that. But you have the opportunity, because you're still breathing, here, and alive, to know God for real, to know him in relationship, to experience what he means when he says, I love you. Not what it makes you feel like when you hear that word, not the cringe that it's giving you in the past. but what he has said about you. There's a whole world. And so some of us are in different places. We're all at the line, the precipice or threshold. But some of us are in different places when it comes to what we're about to leap into. Some of us are about to leap into a relationship with God for the first time. Some of us are about to leap out of an old life, take a chance in a place in a new world, a new city, a new job, a new country. Some of us are about to take on careers we never studied. We didn't know anything about, but we just have this raw skill or talent. We just have this little knack for it. That doesn't make sense. Who did it come from? Did I get it from my grandparents? You got it from God. You got it from God. So you're going into a new territory. And no matter who you are, what you're about to do, how tall you are, your complexion, your hair, what language is primarily yours. I understand you're listening to this in English, but what country you come from or nationality, however you were raised, if you feel that pull in your belly, that something big is about to happen. You part of this tribe. Welcome to the family. You are feeling the next. And God told me when he was speaking of Moses and Harriet and Gideon. See, Moses, he went through all this and got the people, and then he got mad and did something God told him not to do, struck the rock twice when he was only supposed to do it once. It was a whole thing. And since it was law and that grace at that time, he lost the privilege to take the children to the promised land. But God was already raising up another Joshua to do so. And after all that time, Moses passes and Joshua takes his place, and him and Caleb stands next to him the whole time. And Caleb is not even Hebrew, but he stands with Joshua. And I don't know what's going on with my they go into the promised land and they win, and they establish things, and they win territory after territory after territory. Some people just move out the way. They like, we ain't gonna hold y'all. It's a lot of y'all just walking through, and we're not even gonna mess with y'all. We just gonna leave you alone because it's a lot of y'all. It's a lot going on, and we keep hearing about what y'all doing. So all these things happen in Moses' time, happen in Joshua's time, and it came all the way down to Gideon. I haven't read about Gideon until like the other day. I always heard these stories, but I didn't really understand. So I saw it come up in my devotion yesterday, and I was like, let me read about Gideon. And I read everything, child. I just kept reading, and it was crazy to me. They had just they had this. I think it's after being delivered from Babylon and all that stuff and everything, and they are still worshiping Baal, Baal, right? The Babylon god or whatever, and they forgot God. And God whispers, he over there getting, hey, I need to talk to you real quick because people is tripping, and I need you to go do a couple of things for me because I need my people back. You're under oppression, you're under all this stuff, and it's because y'all fell, and they were able to be delivered back into the hands of what I think was the Babylonians for 7 years. They were not the Babylonians, the Midianites and the Amorites. Ooh, Lord, I can't say that. So they were because of them worshiping false gods, God allowed them to be back in oppression, which is crazy because the Midianites were the ones that Moses was chilling with when he ran from Egypt. he was in the high priest house. Jethro was the high priest of his land, and he learned all that he knew from Jethro on how to run a business, how to lead people, and all the things. And as a matter of fact, the reason why he even met Jethro was because when he came to the land, his Jethro's 7 daughters were at the well, and some other trying to get some water for the daddy's flock. Women are ministers too. Yes, they are. Trying to get water for their daddy's flock, and these other shepherds came through and was having attitude. Moses was like, "We're not doing that. These are some young ladies. You need to chill out, help them out." They went back, told their daddy, like, this dude was cool. He helped us, and he's like, "Bring him back to the house. Let's eat. Let's break bread together." Jesus loved breaking bread with people. They broke bread. He gave his eldest daughter, I think, to him, and they got married. They had them a son or whatever. Moses was out there for about 40 years, child. His kids done grew up. Them man kids done grew up on him, and God said, "Hey, Moses, go to Egypt, all this stuff." So what's crazy is that all that happened, he had favor. His children are Hebrew and Midianite. Okay, think about that. And then the people forget the law of Moses, and then they get, for about 7 years, oppressed by the Midianites. It's like for every child that you forgot that Moses covered, you're gonna have to live under that. But I digress to say that Gideon was raised up to help them get from up under that oppression. He did that. He did such a good job that the people were like, "Hey, we need to make you our king. You need to rule over us," you know what I'm saying? And everything, and your sons and your sons' sons. They was like, for generations, y'all the family, y'all it. And Gideon was like, "Nah, I'm gonna chill at the house. God will rule over y'all. I ain't trying to do all that. I did my part. I'm not trying to do that too, because 40 years he was at the house chilling. After 40 years he passed. These people went right back to worshiping the Father. I was like, I'm so done. And then you see it happen repeatedly through all the kings, the judges. When the last king, then they keep getting stuff given back to them and all that stuff. And God broke it down to me. He was just like, "Hey, I keep giving Eden, the Garden of Eden, back to you guys, and y'all, and people keep tripping and going and biting the fruit. Then they lose it. Then they go under depression. Then they seek me and they need a savior. I come save them because my word won't return to me. I void, like, I'm coming for you. I love you." God always forgives. And we take that for granted. He's all, you know what I'm saying? He's so forgiving to us. And this moral of the story was, people forget what God has done, what people have done. These people didn't even honor Gideon's sons or sons. They didn't even honor them. They were disrespectful. They talking about, "You need to rule over us and your sons and your sons' sons." And then as soon as he died, they forget him. They forget what he did, what God did. They forgot all of that. And they was disrespectful to his children and his children's children. Like he never existed. People do stuff like this, and God continues to forgive. But God is, we're in this is the time where you're about to go into something, and God is taking you through a lot of things. He, just like he used Harriet Tubman to free our people. Now we got cancel culture, just we going against each other. Like we weren't just in slavery together. We were all in slavery together. I'm not saying in slavery they weren't turning us against each other, but that was like forced against us. We are willingly sitting on social media, just going against each other. I'm just saying, like, we forget. Some don't forget, but as a culture, it keeps repeating itself in this world that we forget. Will you forget? Will you forget how far God has gotten you? Will you forget all the wars that you won with him? Will you forget how it felt the first time you stepped into the promised land? Will you forget everything that he's about to do, has done, and will do? Will you forget him? Will you forget him? Because this is the thing. Legacy has cycles. People only have one life. You only have one life to live. You're not going to keep being able to go back and forth with God. You have to stand on something. You got to stand on God. God said, be hot or cold, because if you are lukewarm, I will spit you out. Choose who you're going to serve, because now you are the baby being born. No longer in the mother's womb. You cannot return back to the safe space, the space that you thought was bad and you thought was painful. You're going to be wishing for one day, because the loudness and the noise and the light that comes in the former, from the former to the latter. When you're in the latter, you're going to be like, dang, that really went that bad. Or, wow, I really went through this. And some things were bad, but there's going to be, your perspective's going to change on some stuff. Like, dang, have you looked at a picture of you before? Like, but when you were that age, you was like, oh, I need to do this. But three or 4 years down the road, some people 10, 15 years down the road, they look at their picture and they're like, oh man, I had it. I didn't even know I had it like that. Oh my God. It took that long for you to see yourself. It took you that long for you to see who you were, see what you had, and you're not even there no more. That's wild, right? Don't let situations keep you from seeing who God is right now and who you are right now. Don't get blinded by all these things. When you have been through hell and high water, you have been a survivor, it is one thing. But when you become a thriver, you live, it's like survivor's jackpot. Oh man, all the milk and honey, all the riches and gold, all the things. But what did it take you to get to the threshold? What did it take for you to get to the bridge where you would cross over from yesterday to tomorrow? What is it that took that? Remember that. Remember who you are. Remember God. God asked me, he told me, I'm about to take you into something new. Okay? And he told me all these things and the things I'm sharing. And he said, well, you gonna forget me? But it was like, will you remember me? That's how he said, will you remember me? And I was like, God, why would you ask me that? But I don't want to be like Peter. So help me to remember, Lord. I don't want to say, yeah, I'm going to remember you. I'll never forget you. And then start forgetting. You know what I'm saying? Like, but Peter came back. He came back around and and then he stuck with it after that. I asked God, I've always prayed, don't give me something that will make me lose my soul, my life. Forget it. Forget everybody else. I need to make it to heaven. Okay. Do you understand what I'm saying? I want to go there. Okay. Sounds like a wonderful place. Okay. I want to be there. We've been saying it for a minute. Earth is ghetto and hell is hot. I'm ready. Yeah. Yeah. When it's my turn, I'm going to have a great time. Okay. When it's my turn, when I'm not rushing. Okay. I got things to do here, but we're all crossing over to different places in our lives. Some of us are going into our former, some of us are going into another season. Some of us are stepping into different eras, of our families. But regardless of what it is that you're stepping into, it's all a pivot. No matter how small or big, some of these pivots are so big, they're paradigmic. They're paradigm shifts. They just completely, utterly change your reality and your identity. God doesn't want us to forget who he is after he's done what he's done. And God doesn't want you to be robbed of the knowledge of knowing who he is either, if you're not even near him. People keep talking about, oh, I'm going to wait until I do this. I don't know why people think that you're supposed to be able to get. Do you understand? There's nothing that, if we are all unworthy, because we are, none of us are worthy to be with God. Like nobody, no, everybody's trash compared to God. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like we're all good, but not all good. You know what I'm saying? No, God is God. And it take God to cover you for God. It take God. It take a part of him to come on, cover you. And that part of him is Jesus. And by the way, if you're just wondering how that works, y'all say y'all believe in one true God, but y'all keep talking about the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Well, you have three parts to your body. You have the mind, you have your heartbeat, and you have your nervous system. I see God as the brain, the mind, the one that thought up all these things. Jesus is the part of God that's the heartbeat, the compassion, the one that reaches out, the hands and the feet, the action. And the Holy Spirit is like the nervous system. Feels everything all at once, everywhere all at once. It picks up everything all at once. It helps you to be sensitive in the moment. When something's cold, when something's hot, when somebody even feels off you, but it's all one body. When we have children, we even call them by different names. Sometimes I call my children by their middle name or their nickname, and based out of what I call them out of, they know what kind of mood or what I'm expecting from them. So when I call on God the Father, I need you to help me with my thinking, so to speak. Or when I call on Jesus, I need help. I'm hurting. I need somebody to help me. I need a hand. I need somebody hand in the storm. And when I call on the Holy Spirit, I need understanding about what I'm feeling. I'm confused. What is this? I feel overwhelmed. Help me to order my emotions. Help me to decipher between you speaking and God speaking. Or I need you to interpret how I feel to God, because I don't know what to say. So you're calling on a different part of God. So, like I tell my children, and now I tell many people this, is that God is H2O. No matter what, whether he's ice, water, vapor, you need all of it. Just need it in a different way. God can show up in many ways. And that's how he shows us himself. And if you even look at the triangle is the strongest shape in the world. And the number 3 is a God number. So that's that explained. That's the way I explain it. So when everybody's like, the Christians have 3 gods, I'm like, no, we don't. There's only one true God. Now, of course, and that would be right here. All of a sudden, child. We're going into new territory, and I just feel like I needed to tell you guys that the heartbeat you learn to listen to in the dark, when you're in the brightest of light, learn to intentionally listen for it. Don't forget God when you get to where you're going. You only have one life. Generations will continue to rise and fall and things, but a person only lives once. Don't waste your life or your time rising and falling, repeating mistakes and being in cycles. You, the person, can choose, because that's all God really wants. He wants it to be your choice, but it would not be fair to not try to reach out to you or tell you that he's around. So when people are trying to tell you about God, or they rub you the wrong way because of what somebody else did and they're unaware of it, maybe have a little more grace, because they just people who only understand what they understand. They human, and they're probably doing their best. And they probably don't understand some things, and they're probably new. And some people are old, and some people are old fools. Hate to say it, but some people are. But you can't let people define God for you. You can watch God move through people, but God can speak for himself. So if you really have some questions, just ask him. Literally, God, who are you? I want to know. Please tell me and show me. And then you say in Jesus' name, because that's that power that moves and shakes the earth. Hell, heaven celebrates. I don't care how many people use it. Laid back, and it ain't no laid back name. Yahweh. El Shaddai. Oh, and by the way, I just want to say this. Saying Allah is not calling God another name, a whole nother God. That is not a different God. Allah means God in Arabic. Can we understand this, please? We be fighting battles that are just confusion. I need to say this as a believer, a Christian believer. When somebody, and I have to say sisters and brothers in the Muslim and the Hebrew faith, because they believe in the same God we do, okay? And it's 3 Abrahamic faiths. When somebody say Allah, I'm really my Christians to understand that is literally God, the God, his name in Arabic. And before God was translated into English, where we are, all those languages came before the language we use today. I need y'all to keep that in perspective, okay? Like the language, the way we speak right now, the way we speak, I'm not saying just English. English, has its own history, but the way in which we speak. People like, man, God the man, and then get mad at somebody for saying, I love Allah. You know what I'm saying? Like, we get mad at that, and because you don't understand, because people have demonized different interpretations of the word God. God has many names, but it's still one God. And it's one God. But there's many languages. So somebody may say God, they may say Christ, they may say Cristo. I'm like, who that? Christ. Please think before you speak. I've seen people, and it is not right as believers for us to attack other people, especially those who are also in the Abrahamic faith. Like, you don't have to agree, but that's not cool. And before you start telling people this and that, make sure you understand yourself. Don't just be repeating things. Read a book. Go look up some history. Like, I don't know everything either. I'm not saying I just know everything. I'm just saying the little that I know, I share this. I only speak from what I know. But I seen it, and I did. This only comes from because I saw this lady, this so-called Christian woman, attacking another woman, saying Allah, but she might have been Lebanese and Christian. But because she spoke a different language and said Allah, she was being attacked by somebody that's supposed to be in the kingdom. There's a reason why we need to read the Bible. You know what I'm saying? But there's some things that are just Would God himself really do that? Would he just, is that him? Like, if you say you're a believer, if you say you're a real believer, why do you need? They put Jesus on the cross in real life. Regardless if you believe he was Jesus the Savior or not, this is in history. Crucifixions were real. His disciples were real. These things happened. And the way he responded to them is important to look at. Because if you're easily provoked to say something crazy to somebody online, when you don't even understand what they're saying, like, I don't understand what you're provoked about. I ain't even to go there. I'm just saying. We are so quick to be like, yeah, I knew it, because gossip literally kills. If you can't be a part of the solution, I guess, don't be a part of the problem. But these days, being too quiet is also a problem sometimes, and being too loud is. It depends on the situation. Well, cancer culture has wrapped itself around being a believer. And like I said, I'm not, child, I'm amazed on how, like, just being here right now. Because I am not like all of that like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just me. But I'm sharing these things, and I never planned on talking about, I never knew what I was really going to talk about on this podcast. These are the things that come to me. Okay. I love God. You know, if you want to hear about him, you can come over here. But these are not the only things I'm going to talk about here. I'm going to talk about different things. But right now, this is just what it is. This is just what the season's about, where these are the things that are coming out. There may be a season where I'm talking more about something else. God will always be a part of everything that I do. But when I tell you, what you hear is things that God give me to say. This ain't be the stuff I want to say, like, or talk about. Child, I can talk about the stuff that's going on in this world and going on online and going on in the news. You know what I'm saying? I can talk about those things too. But don't we have enough of that though? Like, don't we have enough of tabloids and all that good stuff? Well, all this comes together with me talking about what I said about the history and understanding the things, languages and stuff, and going into territory. It really comes with maturity at the end of the day. You have to have a mature attitude. And I'm not talking about regular maturity. Some of this is God maturity, God-driven maturity, Godfidence, you know, God integrity, God maturity, meaning you have integrity with just a little touch, a little extra, because God has his hand on you. You know, we have love, and then we have God's love, or agape love. I mean, I love you, but I even love you a little deeper because I have compassion, God's compassion for you too. Like, God will take all the things that you think are your good stuff that really came from him in the first place, and add him more of himself to you. But we cannot go into where we're going with being silly and being and not being mature, and that it's not going to happen. You can't take it there. You can't swim with a bicycle. You're trying to ride on the water. You need a motorboat maybe, but not a bicycle, a jet ski, but not a bicycle. You have to be appropriate for where you are. You have to have the appropriate things for where you are. Do not think that you have more time than you do, because you don't. And I'm not just talking about living. I'm talking about to show up for what God has asked you to do. Do not think you just have time. Time's up. He's already moving. It's like you that's it. It's time to go. It's time to get going. Well, I need this. No. Just move. Just start moving. God will restore. He will renew. He will give everything back. Thank you. Thank you, Carlos. He will give everything back. He will give everything. Anything you lost, he will give it back. But your future is so important. Who you are, who you really are is so real and so it matters so much. Like you can't be anything else but who God called you to be in this place, and you can't do it without him. So many people, I'm self-made, I'm this made. Nobody, you literally didn't even make yourself. Physically, you didn't even make yourself. I know people like, well, I worked hard to do this, but do you understand that it's the breath in your lungs that God gave you in the drive God gave you? And sometimes we built things out of our trauma. So guess what? Some things you're gonna lose if it came from the tower of trauma. You can't even hold on to it. Your houses, your cars, all those like things that came from trauma, that came from your house of trauma, when it came from the job that you had, trauma. You got the job, you was good at it, but you were trauma driven. Or you were money driven. So anything in those places and in those mindsets, if it's falling away, think about, oh yeah, because when I got that, this is where I was mentally. So I can't have that where I'm going. So all those things have to be erased and have to be removed so that there will be space for the things for where I'm going. God is not interested in overpacking. He is not interested in overpacking. He's not interested in you taking more than what's necessary. He said, I got everything at the house. Get up on your feet. Let's go. He don't need all that extra stuff. Some of us are literally carrying around trash. Have you ever seen them shows, Hoarders? And the people, you open the refrigerator and it's just they just refrigerating trash. That's all they're doing. Like some things are just a no. You are not going to go past this point with that attitude. You can go left and right and go back in a circle and do all this stuff. But when you come this way, you got to change because you're going to hit a wall, and God is not going to just, because the reason why you have to, because your life matters. Your soul matters. And God will take you from this earth early before he let you lose your soul. He will not put you in something intentionally. Sometimes we run after stuff we shouldn't. But God, when it comes to purpose, he is careful about you. He wants to work through you, but he is not interested in just using you up and leaving you for dead. That's the enemy. God is interested in putting you in a position that you can let things go and be able to receive things. He's interested in you having the character and wisdom to understand when to speak and when not to speak. He's interested in you having the understanding to keep looking for him and not be so overly tickled and excited about all the shiny lights that you forget him. He doesn't need you walking into this next season with a poor man's mentality. Just because you've been poor. He needs you to start identifying with who he says you are. So when you walk into the room, you know you belong there. See, a poor man would win the lottery and go into debt and become worse than he was before he had the lottery, because he didn't grow with the money. See, when people build and things like that, they grow with their money. But there's been other people who've been poor, who've won the lottery, and they were wise because they didn't have a poor man's mentality. See, in their situation, they were poor. But as identity, they were smart. They were a wise person. God cannot give you greatness when you're being silly. God cannot give you greatness with a silly mentality, whatever that looks like. I know I just sound like I'm being harsh. That's what's coming. Because this place is no joke. It's a wonderful place. Don't get me wrong. I know it sounds like I'm talking about something scary. I'm talking about the promise. I'm talking about after all the battles have been fought, you get to settle in your land. I'm talking about your life giving God glory. The greatest thing your life could ever be is to be able to give God glory with your life. I'm talking about you knowing and being all that you're supposed to be. I'm talking about new territory. It's here. It's coming. It's what I mean by coming. You know how when you standing on the corner waiting for your ride to come pick you up, and they're like, "Ooh, I just hit the stop sign on the corner of the street." You kind of look and you can see the car pulling up from a distance. That's what I mean by coming. It's already on the street. It's rolling up. God is pulling up on you, and you gotta. It's time to go. It's time to go. So it's one of them things where you just, you know what? I'm just leaving it. I'm just gonna get in the car. I'm not missing my ride. If I didn't get it already, I'm not running back in the house real quick to grab nothing. I'm not missing my ride. What you need me to do, I'm here. Okay. Because I've waited a long time for my ride to come around the block. I thought it was 5 minutes away about 2 hours ago. And it just now pulled up. In other words, God did not work on my time. He worked on his own time. And now that he's here and I had to wait, I'm not missing it for anything. Not my old self or my old self ways, whatever that looks like. I'm not doing it. I'm not interested. Not doing it. Not going to do it. No, I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't want it. I've been through it. I done did all of this stuff. I'm cool. Like, I just want to go forward now. I just want to go forward now. It's so bad that it's hard for me to have time for people these days. It's hard for me to have time for people. It doesn't matter if I love them, I like them, they're wonderful. It's just hard for me to have time for people because some people they just feel like the past. They even do nothing wrong. They just feel like yesterday. They just felt like, oh, they just felt like they don't feel like tomorrow. They don't even feel like the present. They just feel like yesterday. They just feel like, okay, they nice. They are loving. They appreciate me. I appreciate them. But sometimes I just don't have time because I'm on a mission and I have my focus. I got the things I got to do. And sometimes it's hard for me to have time. It's not even that I don't want to love on those that I love, but I had spent so much of my time doing that already. It's like I did. And that's what I mean by the past, because me spending time with certain people, all I can do is, yeah, child. In meantime, between time, I could have got that website finished. I could have reordered the stuff that I needed last week because da 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 happened. Like, my mind be on things. But the right people, it seems like seamless. I'm just ready. I just want us to all be ready, guys. Okay? There's no more time to prepare. We're at the place where we just have to just go. There's no more time for preparation. You spend the rest of your life preparing, you'll never be prepared enough. This is as much as you can be prepared. Is it. If God could give you more time to prepare you and that would actually work, then he would do that. But there's no reason for it, because this is the maximum that you can obtain in this space. You have to now live it. The dream can't stay a dream. It has to be lived. It has to be a reality. And God, he don't play by his own word. See, God lived by his own word. Okay. He said that we have dominion over the earth. We can speak death and life to things. Now, he created the earth and he created time and he created the fact that we can even be born in the first place. Okay. And the bodies that we're in when we're born. But him as God, who has come and has been seen by people before and after him being in the flesh, still came and gave us time. Anyway, he still allowed himself to be born into time. Because God is not going to be illegal. He holds himself to his own word. There's nobody above him. There's nobody that can hold him accountable. God holds himself. Child, that's amazing, because I mess up a lot on that in that area. I'm accountable in a lot, really good in some areas, but I'm not accountable with donuts. Donuts is where I am not good. I am not good. Don't bring me any donuts. I have a problem with donuts. And I know that's very left for me to say that, but I'm just saying, like, there's self-control is the issue. God doesn't have these problems because his ways are our ways. And this is why we need him in the ocean, because he understands the massiveness of what we're dealing with. But he is still greater than the ocean we swim in, because he is the originator. The water that's here is just a mimic of him. It's not even as powerful as him. So you can be in it, but you were never made of it. You were just made to be able to swim in it for a little while. Notice, you can only swim for a little while before you have to come up for air, before you have to take a break. This is what he means by we're in the world, but not of the world. And this world is full of things that are unseen. And sometimes it feels like we don't fit in it quite right. But believe me, you're supposed to be here. He has a purpose for you in it. And one of the things God told me, he said, you're so worried about knowing how to swim. I never told you to swim. I just need you to float. I just need you to float. Why swim when you can float? Why are you making it more difficult than it has to be? You can just bob in the water like so, like that. Like so, like that. Like our friend. I'm gonna say our friend, Miss Tabitha Brown. I'm gonna meet her one day. We're gonna have us a nice vegan meal. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. They say no turkey, no ham. That's what Tabitha probably gonna say. No turkey, no ham. But I'll take that vegan if it's good, because it gotta be still good. But yeah. So know that it's just time to just go. It's not time to try to keep getting ready. It's time to start doing and moving. But all the gifts that you have, all the talents and skills that you have are hard to manage without God. Your life it's hard to manage without him. Businesses and family and all this stuff, it seems insane. We see all these people like Tabitha Brown. I told God, like, how is it that Tabitha Brown has all these books, she has this shows, all these things, NAACP award after NAACP award. She's getting, it's like, how is she doing this? I'm amazed at all her gifts. She's doing acting and all these things, but they seem like they're just overlapping, hand over fist. And God said, well, it's because she's doing it in the alignment of purpose. See, God says to be ready in and out of season. People only think of that as when God calls on you to speak a word, and then when you walking down the grocery store lane and somebody asks you about God, to be ready. I mean, on that level too, but it also means that be prepared in the former and be prepared in the latter. Some of us have never walked with God this way before. We're believers, but we've never been this way with him before. We don't know him in this area yet. We're going to learn him in this area. He's still going to be the same God from yesterday, but he's going to talk to us differently, speak to us differently, and talk to us from different places and bring new things out of us. And it's going to sometimes feel a little nerve-wracking and scary. It's going to feel like you're trying to swim when you've never been taught how to swim. And God is going to need you to just float. He's going to need, and it's hard to float when you feel like you're drowning. But if you just float, he will carry you through, okay? Because he's the water that's in. He's the water that's within. And amazingly, he's the water holding the water that you're in. And he can tell you everywhere you need to go. He has control over the water. See, water always adapts to the thing that it's in. So that's why I believe All water is in his hands, because if he can tell it to stop, that means it adapted to what it was in. Water will take the form of whatever it's in. If God is at peace, he says, be peace, be still. The water has to be still because it is in God's hands. It's in his hands. It's in his hands. It's in his hands. You don't worry about it. It's in his hands. It's in his hands. It's in his hands. It's in his hands. Don't worry about it. It is in his hands. It's in his hands. Don't worry about it. Just float. And every now and again, if he tells you to reach out, kick a little bit, do it. Because at that moment, there might be a little wave coming your way. And he wants you to use it for a little inertia to push you out further. Don't be afraid of how deep or wide something goes. Just know that God is holding it all in his hands, and he's also within you. Doesn't matter what. He got you. He never needed you to swim. He needed you to float. And some of us are not going to just be in the water. Some of us are going to be building boats and arcs, cities on arcs, nations on arcs, living on the water, where our parents built towers that could handle the strong winds. We will be building arcs that can handle the waves, because God don't need us to swim. We've done the work on land. We did the running on land. Okay. We did all that. We did the building and the hammering and helping our parents and helping other people. And God said, I just need you to float with me. When I move, you move. Just like that. Okay. Well, I hope all this makes sense. Don't forget God. Listen for him. In the middle of the chaos, in the middle of the light, listen for him. When it gets super dark, when it gets super bright, listen for him. Always look for him. Always look for him. Don't be like people in these generations that keep forgetting generation after generation. Be the person that takes time for God to get to know him, and let him show you who he is, and let him show you who he's made you to be. And when he does, just float with him. I'm Lorenza Nicole Molina, aka the Black Butterfly Queen, La Reina Mariposa Negra. And this is View from the Throne. I don't know if I said it, I'm not sure, but I just had a birthday. And this is my New Year's. It's my new year. My birthday was July 9th. It was yesterday. And I just feel happy. I have birthday plans with some of my sisters. Some out of town, some in town. I'm excited for all of it. You know how we age, we get older, and we wonder, are we doing enough? Did we finish? Are we moving fast enough? I can honestly say I am who I'm supposed to be right now. I can honestly say I am right where I'm supposed to be at the age I'm supposed to be at it. I feel like I am in the right time, right where I'm supposed to be. So we judge ourselves so harshly. We think we're moving slow. But the way God has been speaking, everything, and when I say everything, I mean everything. I am right where I'm supposed to be right now. I didn't miss my mark. I didn't miss my time. I I didn't mean whatever I'm supposed to be doing is supposed to be right now. I can say that. And I didn't know I was gonna be able to say that this birthday. I didn't know if I was gonna be able to have that peace that I needed for that. And I do. And I feel like it's the first time I've ever really have. I think before I used to push it down a lot. But I think now, I know now that there was no mistake. Even when I was making mistakes, it was worked out for my good. God even allowed my mistakes put me into alignment. The time I thought was wasted wasn't even wasted. I can't even say I should have been doing this because now I know that if I would have did those things at that time, it would have been too soon. I would have been like a baby being born too soon, exposed to the elements because I was underdeveloped. I had everything that I was. I was everything that I was, like a drop of water. It was everything that I was. But you can't water a garden from a drop. You can only recognize what it is. A baby, you can't, in the womb, you can't say everything that it will do. Sometimes we have to even wait to find out the gender. But you know it's a human life. God said, I had to make you in the dark. I had to forge you and grow you in the womb of me. And you got to know my heartbeat. And being pushed out into something can feel traumatic. It can feel overwhelming. But I'm going to be holding you in my arms now. See, you knew God from the womb. You knew what it was to sit in his belly. You knew what it was to have to wait to hear things happening around you, but not know what was going on. You knew what it was to have to notice your hands and your feet and these abilities, but you didn't understand what they were for because they were still all wrapped up in the womb. Your gifts are like your hands and your feet wrapped up in the womb. But when you're born, you have to be cut away from the placenta. The things that you want to hold on to. You have to be slapped and patted and so that air can enter your lungs. You gotta go through it a little bit. The light is bright, it's cold, it's uncomfortable, but it's where you are supposed to be. You cannot stay in a hidden place. You cannot stay in a hidden place. You cannot stay in the womb. It's where you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be birthed out. And it doesn't matter the gestation period. Because once you are born into purpose, you are brand new. It was my birthday. And I feel brand new. And now I get to know God that holds me close in his arms. Now God gets to hold me skin to skin. And one day I'll see him face to face. But for now, I'll take the skin to skin and the warm embrace of his arms. And in this place, every now and again, he's got to put me down so I can grow a little bit, but he'll still be around, just like for you. You can't go back into the womb once you're delivered out of the dark womb. And that the dark wasn't always bad. This is why I say it was good that I was afflicted. Now I understand, like I needed to be in the soil and I need to be hidden so deep so my roots would be strong. I needed to be in the dark so I can develop. I was the special film that had to be developed in the dark before brought to the light. It makes sense that I was the diamond under pressure. I was the gold found in the mind. It makes sense why beautiful things take time. You didn't know that you were beautiful. But the evidence was that you were found in a dark place. The evidence was that you were in pressure. Diamonds are made from pressure. Gold is purified by fire. But all of these things, even seeds, for them to grow, have to be put in the dark. For them to have value, for them to become all that they are supposed to be, they have to be developed in the dark. And now you will know all your gifts and what they're for, what your hands are for. And when you start walking and when you start talking, you cannot live in the dark. You have to be born. So that's why it doesn't matter your age. Your age gives you a perspective. It makes your story and your testimony and how you do things as a witness and a unique witness to people. That's what it's for. But at the end of the day, when you go into purpose, it's like being born brand new. New energy for ideas, help, supporters, things you would never expect. So just know that this time when you get to know God, it'll be skin to skin. It'll be more than just a heartbeat. It'll be more than just a warm bubble around you. It'll be more than just constant food. It'll be more than just living in the wilderness. This will be the promise that one day you will be held close and you wouldn't have to wait until heaven. You wouldn't have to wait till glory, that you would know good things here. It can be real, and it is for you. It can be for you. Yeah. Well, I gotta go. Thank you for listening. I got much to do. Child, look at my nails. Child, I got much to do because, like I said, I still got to celebrate my B-Day, okay? And I believe in celebrating the full month, okay? My auntie taught me that, okay? My Lorraine told me that, and I believe in it 100%, okay? 100%. So we still in July, right? That's what I'm talking about. We still in July. All right. So I'm going to see y'all later. Thanks for dropping in. Whenever you listen to this, I hope it's good for you. But we're gaining new territory, and boy, is it big. Okay, it is big. You can do a lot more outside the womb, right? Exactly. Well, I'll talk to you guys later. Have an amazing evening, morning, or night, and Godspeed be with you. And if you want to know Him, just say, Lord, I want to know you. Will you come and live in my heart? Will you come and forgive me for all of my mistakes and make me brand new? I want to know you for myself. In Jesus' name, amen. You pray that prayer. Oh, and that you also know that He is who He say He is, right? That He's the King of Kings. He's the Son of God. And that He does love you. And you're curious about finding out what that is. And He is right there waiting to show you. And if you believe that in your heart and you confess that with your mouth, that Jesus Christ is Lord, then you're saved. That's it. Can't nobody take it from you. If you believe it, you got it. It's yours. And welcome to the family. Talk to you guys later. Have a wonderful night. And see you next time at the throne. Oh, and don't forget, no matter if you make a mistake, anything breaks or shatters. Remember, broken glass so shines, and so do broken crowns. Pick it back up, put it on your head, and keep pushing because you're still royalty. Okay, bye.